Okay, we're finishing up our review that we started in class. So I'm going to do the evens right here on the video so you can get those as well. So again, in vertex form, we've got y equals a. Instead of x minus h, we're going to put the x value of the vertex. If that's a positive 3, we've got to put the opposite. So minus 3 here. And then the k value goes at the end, minus 1. So the only piece of the puzzle we are missing here is that a value. So I'm going to go ahead and here and write my final answer. X minus 3 squared minus 1. Again, the only thing I'm missing is the a value that goes right here in front of the parenthesis. So in order to do that, I need to plug in an x and a y value into my equation. I've got two options here. I'm going to go ahead and choose the first option just because the numbers are smaller. So instead of y equals, I'm going to use 7. I've got a. Instead of x minus 3, I'm using that coordinate of 1 minus 3 with a squared and a minus 1. A 1 minus 3 inside the parenthesis turns into a negative 2 with a squared, minus 1 at the end. All right, so negative 2 squared is positive 4. Negative 2 times negative 2, positive 4. So I don't want to write a4, I write 4a. And then minus 1 at the end.
Hayden Walker to the 10th grade office. Hayden Walker to the 10th grade office.
All right, so solving for a, we're going to add 1 to both sides. 7 plus 1 on the left gives me 8. Divide by 4, and a equals 2. So that's the last piece of the puzzle that's missing. Again, you should be able to check that your answer is correct. Go to your y equals, plug this in. 2x minus 3 squared minus 1. Go second graph. That takes you to your table, and you should make sure that these coordinates are on your table. Okay, we've got 3, negative 1. We've got 1, 7, and we should have 10, 97. Yep. So, okay, so we can make sure that they are all there. All right, problem number 4. All right, here they don't give me specifically the vertex. Okay, so I need to use all 3 coordinates individually to write 3 equations, and then I'll plug those into the matrix. So instead of ax squared plus bx plus c equals y, I'm going to use a times x squared, b times x, plus c equals y. I'll just go ahead and write it all 3 times. B times x plus c equals y. A times x squared plus b times x plus c equals y. So the first time I'm going to do it here, I got to do it 3 times. All right, so the first time I'm going to do it, I'm going to use the coordinate negative 6, negative 81. So my x values here are negative 6's, and my y value here at the end is a negative 81. The second time I do it, I'm going to go 2 for the x values, and the y there is going to be a negative 9. And the last time I do it, I have x values of 4, and the y is a negative 31. So let's clean this up. Negative 6 squared, negative 6 times negative 6 is 36. I don't want to write a 36, I want to write 36a. In the middle, b times negative 6, well that's negative 6b, plus 1c equals negative 81. So this right here is going to be the first row of my matrix. Let's clean up the second one. 2 squared is 4, so it's going to be 4a. b times 2 is 2b, plus 1c equals negative 9. That'll be the second row of my matrix. Clean the last one up. 4 squared, which is 16. So I got a 16a. b times 4 is 4b, plus 1c equals negative 31. And that will be the third row of my matrix. Top row of the matrix, 36, negative 6, 1, and negative 81. Middle row, 4, 2, 1, and negative 9. Bottom row, 16, 4, 1, and negative 31. Now remember, before I solve this, I've got to use RREF. So, let's see, on a calculator, we've got to go second matrix, over to math, and then scroll up to letter B, RREF. Now we can go alpha zoom to plug in our matrix. It is a 3 by 4. Make sure you plug in the right numbers. We've got 36, negative 6, 1, negative 81. We've got a 4, 2, a 1, and a negative 9. And then we've got 16, 4, 1, and negative 31. So when I hit enter on that, okay, here's my A, B, and C values here on the right. So my A is negative 2, so y equals, instead of ax squared, we've got negative 2x squared. Instead of bx in the middle, we've got positive 1. So you can either put 1x or you can just put x, either way. And then my c value is actually a negative 3, so we'll put a minus 3. So there is my equation. If you want to put a 1 there in front of that x, you can. Okay, so again, you can do the same thing. You can go to y equals. You can plug this into your calculator. You can look at your table and make sure that the 3 coordinates that you started with are in fact on your table. That way you know you have the right equation. Number 6, okay, quadratic regression is another way of saying stat edit. So if we go stat edit, let's plug these coordinates in. I've got negative 6 and 73. I've got 4 and 13. I've got negative 4 and 37. So make sure you've got the right coordinates plugged in there. Okay, once you've got them plugged in, we're going to go to stat, over to calculate, and down to number 5, which is quadratic. Hit enter until you hit calculate. All right, so the equation is going to be y equals, instead of ax squared, it's going to be 1.5, or if you want to go 3 over 2 x squared. Either way is fine. Instead of a bx in the middle, my b is negative 3, so minus 3x. And then instead of a c at the end, we're using a positive 1. And again, you can plug that into your y equals, plug the equation in here, go look at the table, and you should have these 3 coordinates on your table. For time constraints, I'm not going to do that. That's a way for you to check it. All right, number 8. All right, so we are going to be graphing here. All right, the easiest way to find the vertex is to go negative b over 2a. In this case, my b is a negative 16, and my a is a negative 2. So negative 16 is actually a positive 16. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. My vertex has an x value of negative 4. So now I need to plug that number back into the original equation to find the y value. 2 times x squared minus 16 times x minus 30. And I'm using negative 4s for those x values there. So I'm going to let my calculator do the hard work there. Negative 2, negative 4 squared, minus 16, and the parenthesis negative 4, minus 30. And so I get a positive 2. So my vertex there is negative 4, 2. Now when I plot that coordinate, since I have an underline, that coordinate needs to be solid, filled in. Negative 4, 2. Solid, filled in circle. Got to figure out the rest of the coordinates. 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. So I'm going to multiply all the y values by the a. In this case, my a is negative 2. So 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. And 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So the next coordinate from the vertex, we're going to go left 2, down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Left 2, down 8, which also means we're going to go right 2, down 8, mirror image. And we also need to go left 1, down 2. Solid filled in circles here. We're also going to go right 1, down 2. Okay, since we have the underline, the equal to underline, the coordinates are filled in. It also means we are going to need to use a solid line here. We have a less than sign, so less than tells me we're going to shade down. In this case, if I put my pencil on the vertex and I shade down, I'm actually shading everything inside the parabola. So what I'm going to focus on is the x-axis here. Okay, the x-axis, the only thing that was shaded here was in between negative 5 and negative 3. So interval notation, negative 5 to negative 3, and those are both filled in coordinates, so they both need to have brackets. Running out of time. So for inequality notation, since my x values that I shaded were in between negative 5 and negative 3, then my x needs to be in between a negative 5 and a negative 3, always using less than signs. And since those guys are both filled in circles, we have equal to. They both also need to have equal to. And I'll finish the next one on the next video.